Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hope everyone had a great holiday season. All that's over with. Time to get back to reality. And hopefully you're tuning in to the program. We got a good show lined up for you today. We got all kinds of stuff going on this week because there's going to be a lot of hot rumors and a lot of transactions happening. So we don't really know who's on the show each day. It's gonna vary this week, but we do know who we got today. We got JC. We'll go to him in just a second. Second portion of the show, we'll be joined by Frank Frangie, play-by-play guy for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence coming to the Jags, and also what it looks like Urban Meyer may be the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach. JC, good morning. How are you?
Yeah. Hey, QB. Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy 2021. Big weekend just transpired, and college football is set for its championship, and we also get ready for the NFL playoffs. But like you said, the transactional time for many of these teams not playing in postseason play has already begun. The Jets, of course, to no one's surprise, letting Adam Gase go. And then I think a lot of word on Twitter and other social media that Urban Meyer flying down to St. Augustine and talking to the Jacksonville people, as we would expect Doug Marrone to be removed shortly. I think Jacksonville has a great opportunity. I think Trevor Lawrence would be a tremendous addition to that franchise, and certainly much needed with the lack of play that they've had, not just in that position, but they've really got to do something about the way they draft and find players to get this team back. It wasn't long ago that they played in the playoff game and they blew out the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Leonard Fournette was running wild for them. But those days are over, and Jags need to get a shot in the arm, and this would be a tremendous thing, I think. And I hope Frank will shed some light on what he knows, and certainly I love hearing what Frank has to say. He's a great sports announcer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of news, with coaching moves over the weekend, which a good friend of this program, Jason Higdon, who has the FloridaFirstandTen.com website, he told me last week that he was pretty sure that Sark was going to end up at Texas, and I was like, "You're crazy!" And I'll be dang if it didn't happen. So Steve Sarkisian is your new head coach at Texas. Tom Herman is out. We got a lot of Facebook Lives here. One brought to you. It's brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Gary says, "So Shane, is Mullen already ready to lead the Gators after just 3 years?" Here's what people need to realize. And here's what's scary, JC, because I know this because a couple of my sources told me this.
Okay.
The Jets, one of the front office people with the Jets is one of Dan Mullen's best friends. Mm-hmm. I don't know where, either they went to college together or were at Utah together. I don't know. I can't remember the entire story. But the Jets have an opening. There was rumors all over the NFL networks yesterday about Dan Mullen possibly going to the NFL. I don't know what to expect. I hope not. But JC, just the way the Cotton Bowl went, some of the comments afterwards, and with the way the damn fans at the Gator Nation, they basically ran Coach Spurrier out of here, whether you want to say it or not. Winning 9 and 10 games, people weren't happy. I don't know what to think right now, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Well, I agree with that. I don't think you can, because opportunities come to these coaches who are successful, and certainly the Jets' opportunity is going to be there. They'll have the number 2 pick. Really it comes down to whether or not Woody Johnson wants it. And he's going to sign off on this. It's not going to matter what the front office guys do. It's the owner. And if the owner wants him, they're going to make an offer, and it's really going to come down to what Dan Mullen wants to do. And I don't think the fans would be a reason why he would leave. I think the reason why Dan would leave was to do the same thing. And a lot of times, I hear you with Coach Spurrier. Are you there, QB?
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hear you with Spurrier, but I think he was ready for a new challenge at that time as well as some of the things that had made him weary here at Florida. And that new challenge was the NFL. And it always, I think, does enter a successful college coach's mind. How would I do at this level, or what would I do? I mean, here we are talking about Urban Meyer coming to Jacksonville to coach in the NFL. I mean, he left Ohio State, he left Florida because he just had enough of it. So, it just depends on the individual, I think. But, I mean, look, the Cotton Bowl was a bad thing. Nothing good came out of that. But I think in time, folks should and will let that dead dog lie, because, we've got another recruiting season coming here in the next 4 or 5 weeks, and Florida needs to shore up some of these guys on defense. And February is not far away.
Yeah, but pretty much everybody's already got all their 25 guys committed and signed. But here are my thoughts. And Dan says here on Facebook Live, the phone will always ring if your coach is a good coach, and that's true.
Yeah.
Here are my thoughts about Dan Mullen. Okay, I think Dan realizes, and I don't know, I have no facts. I'm just putting myself if I was in Dan's position. He realizes he's done a tremendous job here at Florida. Florida's one of the top jobs in America. But I think he realized, too, in that Cotton Bowl, my talent's not where it needs to be. Okay?
Yeah.
We can recruit, and this is where it bothers me, because, JC, if you're a recruit and I'm a coach and I come to you and I'm one of the best recruiters in America and I'm in your living room with your mom and your daddy and I'm doing everything I possibly can to get you to come play for me, that 17-year-old has his mind made up where he wants to go play. There's not a damn thing I can do to make you change your mind, okay? So people are always on him and his staff are recruiting. But I think Dan could realize, okay, I had a hell of a year, but we still can't beat the team in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Right? And they get the best players every year. But listen, hear me out, okay?
Okay.
So do I want to beat my head against the wall when I know that I can't recruit and get those players? Because they're going to go to Alabama. They're going to go to Ohio State. They're going to go to Clemson. Doesn't matter what I do, especially until we get our football facility built. Or do I want to just go to the NFL where I don't have to recruit anybody and just coach football?
There are pluses and minuses to all this. And, you spoke about the 17-year-old. What do you think those 17-year-olds that just signed with Texas are thinking right now? I mean, here they had Tom Herman lined up to be their guy that would help them get through college and to possibly the NFL. And now he's a goner after Chris Del Conte basically said that was his coach. And so it's really hard to know what's going to happen or who's being honest or what people's intentions are, because when the right deal comes along, everything that happened before that just goes out the window. It really does. So it's going to happen if it's the right deal for Dan Mullen. And I get what you're saying about the recruiting at Georgia, the recruiting at Alabama, the recruiting at LSU. It's hyper competitive, especially in this part of the country. So I see your point, but if you're a Florida Gator football coach, you got to go in there thinking we expect to win the Southeastern Conference. And
I agree with that. But my point is, when you as a staff do everything in your power that you possibly can to get kids to come here, and they decide to go to one of those other 4 teams where, Coach Spurrier says it every time I do another podcast with him. He goes, it's a guaranteed that Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson are going to get the top. They're going to have the top players in America week in and week out every year. They are. There's not anything you can do.
Well, they are, at least until Saban leaves.
Okay. I got a Facebook Live here from Jeff. He says, if Mullen is thinking like me, that's a losing mentality. Spurrier and Urban were able to beat Alabama. Look, dude, it's a different world now. Nobody had football facilities, Jeff, back then. Until you understand the dynamics of recruiting and what is offered at these universities, you can't go back to the Spurrier and Urban Meyer era. It is totally like night and day now. So,
Yeah, and QB, the next question would beg to be asked. Well, what's wrong with Florida's? And that was because the prior leadership at Florida under Jeremy Foley just didn't keep up and didn't think it was necessary because Florida sold itself. But that's just not true. These kids today, they don't remember what you did in the 90s. They know your name perhaps, but they didn't watch you. They don't know. They weren't even alive in many cases. So it's true. You have to keep up. It's an arms race, and Florida failed to do that and went through a 10-year downtime with McElwain and Muschamp, and so it was not good. So I agree with you 100%. It's not the same. Now, you spoke about Trevor Lawrence earlier. Let me give you a quick
hang on. Keep that thought, JC. I want to read this Facebook Live before it goes away.
Sure.
It's from Charles. It says, there is absolutely no one talking about Saban, Orgeron, or Kirby Smart or any other SEC coach interviewing with the NFL. Dan needs to flip this in recruiting and ask all these kids going to Bama, LSU, Georgia, what's up with those programs. Here's the thing. Saban is not going to go anywhere because he's done the NFL. He's got, what he's got at Alabama's on autopilot. Nobody wants Ed Orgeron to run their program in the National Football League. Nobody wants Kirby Smart. The reason people want Dan Mullen is because he's a tremendous play caller and he is very good with quarterbacks. If you're good with quarterbacks, you can call plays. The NFL wants you.
I agree. That's absolutely right. And Trevor Lawrence, just think about that. Urban Meyer, he's had successful quarterbacks. Certainly Dan Mullen and what they have in New York with Sam Darnold. Who knows? I mean, they're going to have the second pick, and obviously, if that were to happen, they would pick an offensive guy, I think. And so it's all hypothetical right now. But you have brought it up, and so it has to be talked about. And we are at that time of year, so. We'll see what happens. These coaches are on the move. It happens every year in the NFL, of course. So New York could be a very interesting destination, but they got a long way to go in that organization, as you know. So I don't see it. I hope it doesn't happen. I think Dan's perfectly fine here at Florida, and they won the East, and they can build upon that. They're going to have to, though, keep up with Georgia, and it's going to be tough until that facility is up and running, like you said, because these kids, they see what they see, and then they make their decisions, and that is the lifeblood of successful championship football. It all comes down to recruiting. It always does.
And it's going to get really interesting next year when the name, image, and likeness deal starts, when these freaking players can get checks from the Ford dealership, and it's going to be chaos. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. January is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. You mean, JC, you haven't already ponied up a bunch of money to get Mac Jones to come back to Alabama?
Not yet. No. But I tell you, Mac's had a great year, obviously playing for a championship on Monday, a week from today. And I've got a trivia question as far as quarterbacks go that I think you'll get at least one of these two names. The first part of this question is that Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence both won national titles, as you know, as true freshmen. And I think we all assumed they would each win at least maybe one more, but it didn't happen, did it? I mean, Trevor lost these last 2 years. So who are the only starting quarterbacks with multiple titles in the 2000s QB? Can you name one of them?
Quarterback with multiple titles would be somebody that played at USC.
Yes. Do you know who it was? You're right about that.
It wasn't Carson Palmer. It wasn't Barkley. It was Matt Leinart.
It was Matt Leinart. Outstanding. Gosh, you got it.
And the other one had to be it's probably A.J. McCarron.
Good Lord. QB. That's impressive on a Monday. You got both of them right. So
yeah, Kerry says here, Kerry wants to know when the football facility is finally going to be done. Another 2 years, they'll be walking in the doors in about 2 years. So it takes a while to build this huge structure. JC, let's talk real quick about the two championship games. You were at the Alabama game. It kind of went as we expected. It was kind of Alabama, I thought, played well. I don't think they played their best offensively. I guess it's because Notre Dame had the football most of the game, at least in the second half.
They did, and that's what they wanted to do. That was part of their plan, but they couldn't score enough. And I think that last touchdown, with the help of an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, made the game score look a little more respectable. But it was 31-7 at that time. But QB, the average margin of victory in now 14 semifinal games is over 20 points. So these semifinal games have this way of getting out of the hand. I don't know why it is that way. But, what happened with Clemson the other night was truly surprising, I think, to most of the country. Of course, this guy you're talking to picked Ohio State.
I was going to I was going to give you props. You picked, you had your ticket where you won some money on Ohio State on the money line. And I will tell you this.
Yeah.
Ohio State dominated the line of scrimmages on both sides of the ball. That was the biggest part to me. You talk about the Gator fans talking about bad defense and secondary play. Clemson was horrible. And I got a stat for you. Speaking of the Clemson defense, Brent Venables is the highest paid assistant coach, I believe, in all of football. How about this stat? This is Clemson's defense in their last 2 college football playoff games. Now, they played against Ohio State and LSU. They gave up 628 yards to LSU in a 27-point loss, and they gave up 639 yards to Ohio State in a 21-point loss. So you think we worried about defense here? Clemson is struggling with the highest paid assistant in America.
Yeah, he gets a lot of attention for being successful because he has been, but you're 100% about this. They have a problem keeping teams. They were losing 16-0 last year in the semifinal game, and J.K. Dobbins, as I pointed out, was running all over them. So I think they're going to say the same thing a lot of what you've said about the front seven has to get bigger. It has to get more physical. It has to get more athletic, and certainly that's where it all starts, I would think. And because the guys on the back end just can't handle it on man-to-man coverage with the way the rules are written today. You throw the damn ball up there and you get either a completion or a pass interference call. The thing is, it's hard, I think, to play defense now with the way the football games are being played. But I thought Justin Fields showed so much guts with the way he got hit so hard. And whether you think it was targeted or not, and they say it was, that guy, I don't know how he walked off that field, QB. Honest to God, you know what it's like to get hit in the midsection like that. I didn't think he was able to even breathe. And here he is coming back and throwing a zip into the end zone. And I was so impressed with Fields in this particular game because clearly it was the best game he's played all year, but he did it in agony, really, literally.
Yeah, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to, I know he took a hard shot, but that's part of football. I thought the kid was phenomenal. It was by far the best game he's ever played. It was the best I've ever seen him throw the football. He made himself some money, but he showed why he was the number 1 dual threat quarterback coming out of high school, because that was by far the best game he's ever played. And if he plays like that, JC, they're going to beat y'all. I'm sorry to say it, but if he plays that well, they will beat Alabama.
I think, like I would have said this if they had played Clemson, Alabama's going to get into a high-scoring game where they're going to have to outscore the other team. And Ohio State really made some great adjustments after Clemson went ahead defensively as well. So, we've got all week to talk about that game, but I am going to mention how the SEC goes 6-2, and in those 6-2 games, in those 8 games, every win the SEC had was against the top 25 team. No other conference did that. So for all the Joel Klatt of the world who want to bang the Big 12's drum for going 5-0 in the postseason, just know that these sub-500 SEC teams beat top 25 teams. And, it wouldn't be January the 1st if Auburn University wasn't embarrassing the SEC once again in its bowl game. So along with Florida, Auburn was the only team to lose in its bowl game. But we had 6 winners coming out of this conference, and the majority of those teams had losing records. Think about that.
Yep. We got a couple of texts here on the Titan Mar text line from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. JC, it says, comes from Joe. He says, is it true that Will Muschamp's heading to Texas as the defensive coordinator? I thought he was signed, sealed, and delivered to Michigan.
Yeah, I thought that too when Harbaugh was re-upped. It's amazing. No, I don't think Will's going back to Texas. I heard it was Michigan, so I don't know anything about Texas.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. And then we got another text here from our good buddy Ryan in High Springs. He says, Shane, as someone who has played and coached, how impressed are you with both Alex Smith and Ron Rivera, what they pulled off in 2020? Granted, the NFC East is garbage, but one, had a near amputated leg, and the other battled cancer in the midst of COVID. It's a phenomenal story. I know Ron Rivera. I was a teammate of his for 1 year, my rookie year. Unbelievable human being. Awesome. I would play for him anytime. I like what he's done. Their defense is nasty. They're not great offensively, but I don't know who they're matched up in week 1 of the playoffs, but they could cause some problems.
No, well, they could, but Tampa's on a groove right now. And, they are the 4 seed. Tampa is the 5 seed. So the game is at Washington. I love the story. As you know, I liked it when they played Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago. I liked the way they played on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys, blowing them out. It's all about Alex Smith. He has to play to give them a chance to win. But Ron Rivera, you could make the argument, should be or could easily be the NFL Coach of the Year, even though they had a losing record with what you just said. And, I mean, you can make that argument. Whether he will or not, I don't know, but you can make the argument that he could be the Coach of the Year in the NFL because the players love him. Obviously, the owners in the NFL think highly of him because he got the job after leaving Carolina. And he won at Carolina. I mean, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they went to the Super Bowl. So, certainly a great story, and you can't help but root for him, but I have a bad feeling it's not going to go well against Tampa because of the way Brady and his receivers are playing right now.
That's true, but if they get after Brady, anything can happen.
Yes,
JC,
absolutely.
JC, I want you to hear what this day in sports is all about. It's brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchase. $199 value. The service department's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your convenience. In 2000, and I didn't even realize this, a day after accepting the head coaching position of the New York Jets, Bill Belichick resigns and goes to the Patriots on this day in 2000. I didn't know he had accepted the Jets job.
Yep, he sure did. And that happened in one day.
Well, but, good move on his part.
It was a good move on his part, a good move on, what's the Patriots owner? We all know who it is. But,
Bob Kraft.
Robert Kraft, of course. So, no, that worked out great. But you saw what happened when Brady left the Patriots. They didn't make the playoffs. But Belichick is one of the greatest of all time, obviously, with all the Super Bowl rings. But they all came with the right quarterback, Tom Brady. And this is where Tom Brady earns his reputation. Obviously, it's in the playoffs, and we'll see how Tampa does. I don't know, but I like their chances on Saturday. But you're right.
We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Metal Law from Scott. He says, so does Trask go in the first round? They got him going to the Bucs in the mock draft, which makes sense. It's kind of a Tom Brady type QB. Yeah, all the NFL people I've talked to don't have him going in the first round. They have him going in like second or third round. He's the 6th rated quarterback coming out. I think you have 3 quarterbacks that will go in the first round. Obviously, Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and the kid from BYU, Zach Wilson.
I
think everybody else is second, third, and fourth round. But I'm just going by what I've been told. I'm going to ask Frank Frangie that as well, what he thinks coming up here in just a second. Anything else before we let you go, JC?
Yeah, they made a big deal about Notre Dame playing and whether or not they deserved it. And congrats to Texas A&M, by the way, for beating North Carolina in the Orange Bowl, even though I felt North Carolina really played well. It got away from them at the end. But Notre Dame is now 0-7 in the BCS or New Year's Six bowl games since 1998. They've been outscored by 161 points, with all 7 losses by at least 14 points. Now, are they better than they were in 2012? Of course they are. But do we have to go through this every year with Notre Dame?
Here's what Notre Dame needs to do. I'm going to solve their problem.
Join the conference. Join a damn conference.
Well, that too. Here's what they need to do. Recruit their interior linemen like they've been doing. To hell with the recruiting services on those northern wide receivers up there. Go to South Florida, take a 2-star or 3-star from Miami Central or whatever high school, and put them at wide receiver. They need speed. They have no speed at the wide receiver position, in my opinion.
No, that's true. That's true. But they still have had problems not getting blown out. I mean, they get blown out in these games. When I say blowout, I'm saying double-digit losses. So that can be both an offensive problem or a defensive problem, frankly. But, yeah, they've got to recruit players that are typically going to other schools on a daily basis, it would seem, and we've mentioned those three, but others also get these players out of South Florida and South Carolina, or South Texas and South California. And Notre Dame, they're 0-7, okay, since 1998, and every year we have the same damn conversation about them. They need to join a conference. Feel what it's like to have to play for a division title, have to play for a conference title. I had a discussion with a Notre Dame fan, and he said that no, they don't need to do that. I said, well, then why do you put up with the same result all the time? Because he had already accepted the fact that they were going to lose to Alabama. I said, well, what are you doing here then? You can't go into that mentality. Why are you playing? So I don't know. There's a lot of things they could do. We've spent a lot of time talking about Notre Dame over the weekend, and I'm glad we don't have to talk about them anymore.
Yep. Last thing before I let you go, got another Facebook Live from Jeff. He says, I'm confused about the talent excuse. We beat Georgia, went toe-to-toe against Alabama, fell to Oklahoma because Oklahoma was on a roll. We had opt-outs and a major letdown.
Yeah.
Here's my thoughts. We beat Georgia. We did. But people forget Georgia had 5 starters, I believe, out on defense in that game.
Quarterback.
Right? They had and then they weren't playing their quarterback now. And it shows you our talent depth in the Oklahoma game. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say,
right.
Here's the thing. If you have players that have not been starters all year long or had a whole lot of playing time, get a chance to play on national TV in a major bowl game, and that's the best they can do. It's not motivation, folks. It's lack of talent, in my opinion. And I think we've got to get better players across the board. JC, we're going to let you run and get to our man, Frank Frangie. Be safe. We'll talk to you on Wednesday, my man.
You bet. Thanks a lot. Have a good Monday, everybody. Happy New Year.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations that serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. You're going to take a time out here. When we come back, we're going to be joined by the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Mr. Frank Frangie. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. I want to thank JC for joining us. Now we're going to go to the Titan MR Hotline and head over to Jax, and we're joined by the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Mr. Frank Frangie. Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Good morning. I want that sweet beach behind me. You got the beach going and the palm trees.
Yeah, I have a different scene behind me every day. I was in the mountains last week.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so
okay.
I'm high tech now, Frank. I can change stuff on my computer screen here. Hey,
I know you are. Well, you're kind of a beach guy. You're way more beach guy than mountain guy. So this is
good. No doubt. So Frank, we're going to talk NFL Jaguars in just a second, but I want to get your thoughts. excuse me, on the 2 playoff games we just witnessed. Obviously, Alabama, Ohio State are going to play one another. First, let's go Alabama, Notre Dame. I think it kind of went as we thought. Alabama's just a I mean, I don't know who's going to be. I think if Ohio State plays like they did the other night, they can beat them. But are we tired of seeing Notre Dame, or is it just Alabama's that good?
Well, both. I think Notre Dame is well coached. I think he's one of the best coaches going. Brian Kelly. I think they're tough. I think they're fundamentally sound. You got to be able to run, Shane. They can't run. I think Ohio State's an outlier because what the college football has told us in the last 20, 30 years is that the Midwestern teams don't run. The Western teams, when USC is good or Oregon's good, run, and all the Southeastern teams have pass guys. I think Notre Dame's tough and physical, but Clemson outran them in that championship game, and obviously Alabama outran them the other day. So, look, you get me going. I think we need 12 teams, not 8, 12 teams. I think you get to see all the cross sections. I think that helps the northern and western teams recruit better. I got a lot of thoughts on that. But as for your question, boy, Alabama's really good. Alabama can score. They can run. They're tough. This is about as flawless an Alabama team as I've seen. They think, wait a minute, Florida got 46 on them. Back when you played, people weren't getting 46. Well, the game's changed. The game's changed. The pace has changed. This field has spread. I think Alabama's really good. Really good.
Yeah. So I thought Justin Fields, I don't want to say I've been critical of him, but I didn't think he's a great thrower. He made some throws the other night that were just phenomenal. And it may be his best game he's ever played. He may not ever play that well again.
Yeah.
But, boy, Ohio State dominated the line of scrimmage against Clemson, which I never thought would happen. But his play was outstanding.
Shane, last year he threw 40 touchdowns and one pick. He threw 40 touchdowns and one pick last year. But we forgot about that. We didn't see a lot of it. Now we fast forward to this year. They didn't start till late. He played badly against Indiana. He played badly against Northwestern. So we forgot about that. He's a good thrower. He's not as pure a passer as some of the guys are, but he's an accurate player. He's a good player. He's also tough. He can run. I think Justin Fields is a terrific player. And I was like you. I'm guilty of it. I saw the Indiana game early. I saw this Northwestern game where he didn't play well at all. And I forgot that he's pretty good, right? And so I think we kind of relearned that. I can't wait to see him against that Alabama, since Nick's defense and those Alabama athletes. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So speaking of that game, because I want to talk Gators here in a minute, who you think wins, I guess, a week from tonight?
Yeah, Alabama. I think Alabama's got the best team. I don't think anyone's going to beat them. I didn't think Ohio State would beat Clemson now. So Ohio State may be better than I think. I think they benefited. This is going to sound like SEC homer talk now, or Southern homer talk. I think they benefited from not playing. I think they were not beat up. This was a rested team. They played 6 games or whatever it was. It was a rested team. They didn't go through the rigors of a season, so I think they benefited from that. I'm interested now to see how they went. That was a pretty tough game, and it was an emotional game, even though they won big. So I'll see interested to see how that affects all this. But no, Alabama's got the best team. Alabama has no flaws. It's interesting, isn't it? As good as Mac Jones coming back being a senior, you would expect. He wasn't supposed to play. Devontae Smith and Najee Harris are seniors also. These guys are seniors never make it. Great players never make it to their senior year anymore. Devontae Smith's a great player. Najee Harris is pretty damn good. And they made it to their senior years. So you never see that anymore. But I think Alabama will beat them. I think they've got the best team.
Who do you think wins the Heisman Trophy?
I think Mac Jones is going to win it. I can't tell you who I voted for. We're not supposed to tell you who we voted for until after it comes out tomorrow night. So I'm not going to tell you who I voted for. But if you ask me who I think is going to win it, I think Mac Jones will win it.
Yeah, I think either he or Devontae Smith for sure. Okay, let's talk Gators. Bad performance in the Cotton Bowl. I get it. But my concern, Frank, is this. You can say we only had 60 scholarship players, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when I watch that game, I think it's glaring the lack of depth we have and lack of talent. I mean, it concerns me because, if I know Oklahoma's a good football team, but if you're a backup, you get your opportunity, you got to be motivated to play. And I didn't think we were very good talent-wise.
I'll give you my take on that game and on the Gators. Shane, there's 129 teams now, 129 FBS teams, give or take, right? 120, okay. I think Florida's program is in better shape than 123 of them. All right, of the 129, I think Florida's in better shape than 123. That's pretty good. They're not in as good a shape as the other 5 or 6. They don't have the depth that Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and Ohio State have. They don't. They haven't recruited enough of the 4s and 5s. It's only guys' 3rd year now. And that's the question you're going to have. Look, when Steve Spurrier got to Florida, okay, Florida had never done anything, okay? He got to Florida in December 31st of 1989. Best coach of all. I love Spurs. The best coach I've ever watched. I've said that 1,000 times, okay? In 1990, he found this skinny-ass quarterback who was pretty good, but he had really good defensive players. He had Godfrey Miles and Tim Paulk, and he told me, before he ever coached a game, before you ever played a game, he said, look, we're going to be pretty good in 1991 because we've got good upper-class guys. 92 is going to be a tough year for us. 93 may be a tough year for us because we got to recruit defensive guys. Shane, he got there in December of 1989, right? Didn't win a national title until 96. It was his 6th season before they won a national title. It takes a while to get depth on defense. You know how you win in college football? Quarterback play and speed on defense. You give me a fast defense and a good quarterback, and you're going to win. It took 6 years. I'm not saying Mullen will do that. The question with Steve was, would he be able to recruit elite level players? Well, you know what? He did. It took a while, but he did. Well, I mean, Terrence Barber is a wonderful player. Ernie Mills is a wonderful player. Trey Everett was a wonderful player. But I'll bet you would have loved to have thrown to Ike and Riedel and Jack Wells. And I'm not knocking the earlier guys, okay? It takes a while to get those guys, right? And I think it's going to take Dan Mullen a while to do it the same way. Now, we'll see. That doesn't mean he can. I hope he can. He's a really good coach, by the way. He's a really good coach. Let's hope he can bring that level of player there.
Let me ask you this, because you know a lot of coaches, and you know there's so many people out there that say Dan is not a great recruiter. Look, I don't know what you have to do or how you convince a kid to come play for you. You can call him, text him, sit down with mom and daddy, do whatever you're supposed to do. If that 17-year-old wants to go to Clemson, Georgia, or Alabama, there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Now, like I said earlier with JC, we don't have what those teams have. We don't have that football facility. And until it's built, I'm going to use it as an excuse, if that's what you want to call it. Because I've seen every facility in the Southeast, ACC, SEC, you name it, and ours suck. So when people say Dan can't recruit, is that a fair statement?
It's too early. It's too early to say he can't recruit. He just got there. He's still only been the coach there 3 years. So, and I think this cycle, the guys he just signed, plus a few he'll add on in February, is a pretty good cycle. I think there's a lot of those defensive, again, fast, tough defensive guys, Shane, is how you win. So it's way too early to say you can't recruit. I agree with you. The facility does matter. You go to Clemson and there's the slide and the water slide and the putt-putt and this and that. And in Florida, until Florida has that matters. It's not the only thing that matters. Yes, it absolutely matters. The other thing is you got to prove that if you come to my place, we're going to be the best place. Florida hadn't been able to prove that, but you know what? They're closer. They're pretty close this year. You know, listen, let's be honest. The Oklahoma game doesn't bother me as much as it does some people. They weren't going to win that game, whether they had the wrong mindset, lack of depth, whatever. The reality is they lost 2 games on last-second field goals because their defense wasn't very good, and they took a generational team in Alabama to a 6-point game. Let me tell you this. When Nick Saban exhales and is glad the game's over, you're pretty damn good. How many times does Nick Saban look tense with a minute to play in the game? When Nick Saban exhales and is glad that game's over, you're pretty good. So now Florida has proven that. I think more guys come now, Shane, because Florida's proven they can go toe-to-toe with Alabama. They haven't proven that. They've now I think the recruiting's going to get a lot better. And I think this cycle's pretty good.
Yeah. You think Dan Mullen's our coach next year?
I do. I do think he's a guy that will try the NFL at some point. All the guys that you thought would try it at some point, Steve, Dennis Erickson, Jimmy Johnson, all the ones you think, Pete Carroll, all the ones you think are going to try it at some point, Shane, they ultimately try it. I think they all try it at some point. But I don't sense this is the time for Dan. My guess is it's not now. I think at some point Florida's going to lose Dan to the NFL, but I don't think it's this year.
Your thoughts on the defense? He made got rid of a couple of secondary guys. Did you think that was the right move, or did you think you needed to get rid of Grantham? I'm told the defensive guys were connected to the recruiting snafu, and that had a lot to. That was more than. I think Torian Gray's a pretty good coach. I think that was probably connected to the recruiting as much as anything else. And I think, as you see, Matt Hayes has a story today up on Saturday Down South that just published that talks about that. And I think you'll see. So I think that there was more to it than that. I don't know that I'd get rid of Grantham yet. I know all the fans hate Grantham. They need more players over there. I agree. They didn't have any good players. I thought, Zachary Carter's becoming a good player. Ventrell Miller was a pretty good linebacker. But last year's team, here's the difference between last year's team. Last year, they were pretty good on defense. The guy didn't just forget how to coach.
Zuniga's gone, and Grenard is gone, and David Reese, who never got enough credit, is gone, and CJ's gone. It's a different team, and that's an area, that's that hole that Steve Spurrier told me about before he ever coached at Florida, that the third or fourth year, I think Dan Mullen's seeing that too. They just didn't have a lot of good defensive players. Jaden Hill's not a very good player. He's having to play a lot at cornerback. They're having to play guys in the secondary. The secondary is where I really thought they were weak, Shane. I thought when you had Campbell, of course, Campbell didn't play today, but I thought when you had Campbell and Slayton and Carter, your front was okay. I thought when Ventrell Miller was in there, I thought Cox was an okay edge guy. I thought those guys were okay. I thought the back was terrible. I thought, and God bless those guys, I should never call a college player terrible, but I just thought the whole secondary I thought was overmatched. Other than maybe Kyrie Elam, I thought the whole secondary was overmatched. You got to get players back there.
Yeah, I agree. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Frank Frangie from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. You can follow him on Twitter at Frank_Frangie. Okay, Jaguars, you're the voice of the Jags. Had to be a long-ass season for you, especially sitting at home or in your studio calling away games. Trevor Lawrence, the city's got – good Lord, Jaguars ain't going to screw this up, are they?
I think he's generational. I think he's really that good of a player, and they fell into where they're going to have him. Long as nothing funky happens, long as he doesn't shock the world and go back to school, long as he doesn't pull an Elway or an Eli Manning and say, hey, I'm not playing for Team X, I want to play for Team Y. And I don't think he's that kid. He's from Cartersville, Georgia. He's a Southern kid. He's a regular kid. He's a spiritual guy. I don't think that. I think he's going to go where he's picked. Yeah, he's going to wind up here. This franchise deserves that, Shane. We haven't had that. We've never. Part of it is our own doing, obviously. But these fans, it's a loyal fan base. They've never had it. They've never had the thing, and they've got a chance to have this. No, they're not going to screw that up. He's going to be here. Now, who's the coach going to be? All the reports are that Doug Marrone will be fired today. I don't know that, but I think that's all what people expect. Then is it Urban Meyer? Is it somebody else? Does it happen quickly? So I think there's a lot of moving parts here. But I do think I'll tell you this, the day Trevor Lawrence makes it official and says, I'm declaring, which is probably in the next week, okay? The day that happens, and then the minute he declares, someone says, hey, are you going to try and control where you go? And he says, no, I'm going to go wherever I'm picked. The day those two things happen, tickets are going to fly off the rack down here. They haven't been flying off the rack. Already there's a buzz in the ticket office, I can tell you that. Our advertising at our radio station, which is the flagship station, we've seen an uptick, Shane, just when the Jets won. When the Jets won that game, and it looked like we've seen an uptick in our ad sales. So I think there will be a buzz in town. We haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think he's going to pull an Eli Manning, as you mentioned. He's a couple hours away from Jacksonville, Southern boy, no state taxes. A lot of things.
You've been here. It's a great place to live. It's a great place.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a great place to go to the beach. Who wouldn't want to live? I tell people it's a great secret here how good we have it. I really believe that.
So if Urban Meyer is the next head coach, you don't think there's any way he would take Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence?
I haven't asked Urban that. No one knows. I can't fathom it. And that's no knock on Justin Fields. We talked about him. Justin Fields is better than everybody realized. He's going to be a terrific pro. I think Justin Fields is a good teammate, a good player. But this guy doesn't come along very often. This is probably Peyton Manning who can run. This guy, unless everybody misses their guess, this is a 1 in a million. This is Andrew Luck. It's Manning. Guys like this come into the league every 10 years, maybe. I don't know that. I'm not in charge of all of it, but I can't imagine that Trevor Lawrence won't be the quarterback. But again, barring anything funky, I can't imagine that he won't be the quarterback here next year, Shane. I just can't imagine.
The buzz is the buzz with Urban possibly being the head coach. It could happen today. We don't really know. Good gracious, the city of Jacksonville, pretty excited.
Really excited. And as far as the Urban Doug Marrone thing could happen and probably will happen today, most expect. The Urban thing can't happen today. They've got to interview minority candidates. There's a Rooney rule that says you have to interview 2 minority candidates. I think they'll go through, but I think that'll happen quickly. They've already interviewed a number of candidates for the GM spot. Shane, they're going to hire the coach first, is my belief. They'll hire the coach and build the personnel operation and personnel initiative around the coach. And that includes the GM. I think it's Urban. My guess is it's Urban's job to turn down. Shad really likes him. They know each other. I think Shad's going to manage this search himself. Shad's a smart guy. Yes, I think there will be a buzz if it's Urban Meyer. If it's not Urban Meyer, then I'm interested in who it is. Let's assume it. I think there's a good chance it's Urban Meyer's a coach. And that, honestly, is from what I read and hear. I don't have any insight on that. It's just my guess. But if it's not, then I think it gets interesting. Is it a college guy? Is it Lincoln Riley? Is it Pat Fitzgerald? Is it I don't sense it's a guy that hasn't been a head coach. That's why I wonder if Eric Bieniemy and Robert Saleh and Arthur Smith, the coordinators who are really hot guys, and all those guys are going to get jobs at some point. I wonder if maybe that's not going to happen here, because I wonder if Shad, because of the history, might want someone that's run the show before. That's one of the allures. There's many allures of Urban Meyer. That's one of them. So my guess is it'll be Urban. That's a guess. But if not, it's a very interesting ordeal. But to your question, yes, there's a palpable buzz around here that there hasn't been in a long time.
When you look at this Jacksonville roster, I don't know how many draft picks they have. I don't know their salary cap issues, but they got some good young players. I like their tailback, Robinson. I like DJ Chark. I like the Chenault. They got some pieces in place where they could, with the right coach and with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, they could compete pretty quick, don't you think?
I do, Shane. When you're 1-15, you're missing a lot of pieces. Okay, in a league of parity, if you lose 15 of your 16 games, you've got some work to do. So there are some pieces they have to replace some stuff. They have the most cap space of anybody in the league, close to $100 million in cap room. So they got tons of cap room. They've got a bunch of draft picks because they've traded away a lot of good players. They've got 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders. They're going to have that for a while now. Ton of draft picks, a ton of cap space. So that's why it's an attractive job. You walk into this job, you get Trevor Lawrence, bunch of draft picks, a bunch of cap space. That's a great start. Yeah, they got some good pieces. I agree with you on the receivers. Chenault and Chark are good players. James Robinson's a really good running back. So he doesn't have great burst. He's not fast, but he's a really good player. So they've got those pieces. I think the interior of their offensive line is pretty good. Having said that, the defensive line's a mess. And that's so important in the NFL. They've got to rebuild the defensive line. They've got to rebuild the safety position. They've got to rebuild outside linebacker. There's some work to do here, Shane. Trevor, Urban, whoever, they're not going from 1 win to 12 wins. Okay, they could go from 1 win to 5 wins or 7 wins and could get in the mix pretty quick. But the possibility exists. I think that's your point. And I agree with you. The young players, the cap space, the draft picks, Trevor Lawrence, whoever gets in here has a chance for sure.
Last thing for you. You've seen a lot of teams in the league this year. Playoffs start this weekend. Who's Frank Frangie got in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go way out on a limb here, Shane, and say the Chiefs. Okay, I think the Chiefs. Okay, I know that's risky. I believe this, and I know it's cliche. All right, I think more than ever, the way the passing games are designed, and you understand that better than I do, but the way pass routes are designed, the fact that the defense can't touch you anymore, the way offensive players are protected, it's always been a quarterback sport, as you know better than anybody. It's always been a quarterback league, never more than this. If you got a guy that can zip it around there and a few weapons outside, everything else is hard to compete with. Defense doesn't win anymore, bro. It doesn't. I know the 49ers got to the Super Bowl last year, but that was an outlier. The team that can throw it around there. So when you're watching deep into January, Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, that's who's going to be around. I'm just telling you that the teams that can throw it are going to be around. And I'd be shocked if any of that – if the Chiefs don't go to the Super Bowl, I'll be shocked. And if the NFC doesn't give you either Brady, Rodgers, or Brees, I'd be surprised too. It's a quarterback – you ought to love that. It's a quarterback's world we live in right now more than ever. I really believe that. Yeah, well, those 4 you just mentioned are pretty damn good. Frank, let everybody know how they can listen to the Frank Frangie Show. Yeah, go on 1010XL.com. It streams all over the place. We've got an app for the AM and the FM, and we'd love to have you. We're there every day from 3 to 6. It'll be lively today, I can promise you, with all this Gator stuff going on and all the Jag stuff. But you can hear it. We're on every day from 3 to 6, and love to have people check it out. Shane, thanks for having me. When are we going to play golf? Are we going to play golf at any point, you and me? Is that going to happen? Well, let's do it. Let's do it. You can play the up tees, the old man tees. I'll play it back, and we'll have us a game. Thank you for that. I'll take that. So I'll look forward. Shane, thanks for having me on, brother. I appreciate it. Yes, sir. That's Frank Frangie. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our final time out of the pro. When we come back, we'll wrap this thing up. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport. Keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center. Center State Bank. Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Sensei, Prime and Pearl, and opening soon, Dave & Buster's, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. Pretty good show today. Had JC on. I want to thank him. We had Frank Frangie. Frank's outstanding play-by-play guy for the Jaguars. Make sure you tune in and listen to his show during the day. But yeah, I had a little background noise there for a second. Tomorrow's show, we'll have Buddy Martin. We'll get Buddy's thoughts on what's going on with the Florida coaching staff, his thoughts on Dan Mullen. Also, the Heisman Trophy will be given out tomorrow night. We'll talk to Buddy about that. Also, we're going to have former Gator wide receiver Lewis Murphy, who won a national championship here at the University of Florida, is now coaching down in the St. Petersburg area. Make sure you have all your friends follow us and like us on Facebook Live, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. If you ever want to send us a text, feel free to send us a text, or you can always send us a message via Facebook. Let us know if anyone out there wants to be a part of this show, wants to advertise. We got a couple of spots available to advertise as well. And if you got any questions for myself or any of our guests, sometimes on the Facebook Live, we don't get to them in the show. If you want to send them through the messenger on Facebook, we'll be sure to try to answer any of your requests as well. Again, tomorrow's show is Buddy Martin. I can't wait to get Buddy's thoughts on what's going on in college football with the Gator Nation. And also we'll have Lewis Murphy. I think I just got a text here. At least I think I did. No, it wasn't. It was another text. But anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed the show today. Hope you had a great holiday. Make sure, as I said, follow us and like us. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll see you then.
1st and 10. Matthews, near side, wide open, Alonzo Sullivan. He may go. Touchdown, Gators.